So, good day, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. First and foremost, pardon me for not being able to come to our synchronous class today because we have a seminar starting yesterday up until tomorrow, Thursday. Secondly, also, please pardon me with my background. No, I think it's quite noisy with all the animal sounds because um, it's early in the morning and we are just living close with our neighbors. All right, but anyways, I'd like you to take this discussion as instead our synchronous class for this particular lesson. Hopefully, I'll be able to impart with you, though recorded, knowledge needed for you in this particular lesson. All right, let's begin. So, I'd like you to take a look at this particular picture. So, try to see the scenario. Try to see if you can guess what's happening in this particular picture. By the way, the student wearing yellow is actually one of our students. He is my student when he was in high school in USJR, and he took up an education. He pursued an education degree also in USJR, and he already graduated way back. All right, so can you guess what this activity is? Now let's have another set of picture or another picture. Okay, so these are Jusenian students also, and I think you can see a familiar face now at the rightmost portion of the picture. He was a student also in the high school department before where I taught. At the same time, he pursued an education degree in USJR and currently he is a faculty in USJR as well, School of Education. So you might have known him already. So again, similar question. Can you guess what this activity is? Very good. I think some of you might have noticed from the banner. So this is actually a student exchange program. In the previous picture, it was a student exchange program between Philippines and Bangkok, Thailand. But in the next picture, it's between Philippines and Indonesia. And before the pandemic, we did have a lot of programs like this wherein we try to immerse our students, no, not just within the Philippine context, but as well other countries, specifically ASEAN countries. And hopefully, Western countries also in the near future, hopefully when this pandemic ends. All right. So, if you will be one of those who would experience this once in a lifetime activity or journey or say experience, you should be ready, of course, with the challenges because basically our educational system here in the Philippines might be somewhat different that with the other countries. However, the skills that you possess or you should possess as a teacher, whether whichever country you are, here or abroad, should be more or less consistent and the same. The skills, the capabilities, your innovative skills, your innovation and the like should be more or less uniformed or the same. All right. So the system, the curriculum might be different, but the skill as a your skill as a teacher should always be there. And can you guess what I'm talking about? Can you guess what our topic is for today? If you were able to, very good. But for those who are still puzzled as to what the topic is, we will now be discussing global teachers teaching the world. So here in USJR, we are actually transforming you. We are preparing you to become global teachers, globally competitive teachers, teachers who can actually teach, not just here in the Philippines, but all across the world. Okay? So we are preparing you for challenges, for opportunities ahead of you. All right? So the skills that we are equipping you are not only skills for you to be able to teach within the Philippines, but hopefully for you to be able to teach even outside of the Philippines. So for this particular lesson, these are our learning targets. Number one, we are to identify the different characteristics of a global teacher. What makes a teacher considered to be considered as a global teacher? Explain the importance of a global teacher, especially within the context of 21st century. Create lesson plan. This is your assignment. create a lesson plan for your chosen topic that makes use of online learning applications, because as of the moment we are now migrating into online modality. We already have migrated even to online modality. So I think you need already to inject, to embed, no, use of online learning applications in order to enhance your teaching or even learning of students. All right. So let's start. So if you talk about globalization, class, now to put it in a nutshell, or to put it in a simpler context, it's actually allowing you, or uh, making it possible for a certain person to be able to navigate globally. Meaning, when you say navigate globally, it means the skills that you have learned in your home country is something that can be applied even outside of your home countries. All right. So globalization has already connected a lot of people. It already has made the world even smaller, because by means of globalization, it's like everyone is within reach, even if that person is very far from us, very far from you. Distance, many miles, kilometers, or whatever the measure of distance is from you. All right, and globalization as well makes it possible for teachers in one particular country to be able to teach effectively in other countries, though the two countries, or though different countries follow a different curriculum. All right, so according to Larkson, these are some observable effects of globalization. Or what are the key features? What are the salient features of globalization? So, according to Larson, these are as follows. Number one, there is increased diversity of students in every classroom, in every school or classroom. This might not. This is common in the Philippines, especially if we talk about nursing students. No, not really with other courses, siguro, but when we talk about nursing students, if you try to observe, if you were able to observe, no, you might be able to see other nationalities enrolling to our nursing and medical courses here in the Philippines. Or even there are, if you might have seen, there are also some other nationalities who are enrolling to our English programs here in the Philippines. So there is already an increase of diversity, no, of students in every classroom. When I was teaching in Dubai, diversity was really common. No, in a classroom, you have diverse, very diverse students, type of students. So aside from the locals living in UAE, we also have students from other nationalities, like from India, from UK, from the US, from Egypt, what else? From, of course, from the Philippines, and so on and so forth. And it poses challenge to to the teacher, because due to diversity, the teacher has this particular skill in order to cater to the needs of the diverse needs of the learners. All right, and to make instruction suitable for all, not just for one. Another salient feature is promoting international understanding, collaboration, and harmony, as what I've told you. So different nationalities have different cultures, different traditions, and of course, no, as part of globalization, as an effect or as a feature of globalization, it should promote international collaboration, harmony, and of course, unity and understanding. Okay? So it harnesses the use of technology in teaching and learning. Yes, true. Why? Because when we talk about globalization, we have to put into the use of technology. And not just the use, but it should be an effective use of technology in teaching and learning. Now, take note that different countries are more or less exposed to different types of technology. Even if your home country is not into, let's say, technology, but then if you are to talk about globalization, you should be familiar with these, because other countries are into this one. All right. So you have to familiarize yourself, so that if you are to, say, teach in a diverse classroom, some of the students might be used to having technology. So the teacher, he himself or herself, should also be adept in using technology. Globalization enhances students' ability to acquire and utilize knowledge, basically because it promotes independence among students. Information is readily available already, and it depends on how the teacher instructs students to gain access to this knowledge, to this information. For example, of course, with the use of technology. As what I've said, it encourages collaboration, promotes collaboration. So, in a way, it encourages students to work in teams, to collaborate with each other. Globalization breaks boundaries of space and time. All right? Globalization is about sharing of knowledge, skills, and intellectual assets, especially when we talk about sharing of knowledge and skills, no? So if students are to work in groups, in teams, there is what we call as collaboration, and in a way, there is what we call as sharing of inputs, sharing of knowledge, sharing of skills, and the like. And of course, globalization includes explorations, experimentation, um, let's say innovation, and of course discovery. Okay, because when you talk about globalization, it's not about students being dependent on the teacher, but it's about how students are actually trained to be independent learners, trying to acquire knowledge, information on their own as much as possible. And the last two, we have it connects education institutions to collaborate on various academic research and extension activities, which USJR is doing. So we have a lot of linkages, no? Especially with the other ASEAN countries and of course schools. We have from Bangkok, Thailand, we have from Indonesia, Japan, and the like. It empowers educational institutions to respond to various issues, demand, challenges, and problems of the society. All right. So these are just some salient features of globalization. Now, um, what are the seven C's of the 21st century? Meaning, what are the characters? What are the skills? No. So, if you try to read the one below, what are the 21st century skills that you should develop in order to be considered a global teacher, or in order for you to cope with the challenges in globalization? We have here, of course, I think some of you might be familiar with this. We have communication. You are trained to communicate well, to be able to impart your ideas well, to be able to really explain your ideas to your students in a manner easy for them to digest and understand. There should be critical thinking, the idea of critical thinking, so everything should not be fed. There should be a portion for you to also give them a chance, give your students a chance to think as well, to ponder on information. Collaboration, I think that was already emphasized. Computing, ICT literacy, that this is where technology comes in. Cross-cultural understanding, because if we are to talk about globalization, we are to embrace no cross-cultural differences. There's diversity in the classroom. Career and learning self-reliance, of course, there's creativity, creative thinking, critical thinking, and the like. Okay? So globalization demands the teachers, we and you as future teachers prepare students to become functionally literate citizens and competent professionals. And these professionals should be equipped with social skills and positive work ethic. So you should know how to socialize as well. And you should have that sense of positivity in you, because you know what, in teaching there is what we call as there will be challenges. There will be days that things will be quite challenging. So you have to maintain positive outlook, positive work ethic, because that will also affect your way of teaching. Okay? So what does it mean to be a global teacher? So if you wanted to become a global teacher, what should you prepare for, or what should be some of the things that you have to look forward to? As a global teacher, you should be a critical thinker. All right, you should be a problem solver. For example, modesty aside, no, um, I was informed. I just knew that this particular seminar, for example, is to be held on site. All right. So I was thinking before that this would be done online. But then I was told that it would be done on site. And because it will start, or it is supposed to start yesterday, or it started even yesterday and will end Thursday, that means our synchronous class would be affected. So I have to think of a way on how to solve it or to cope with the challenge. And that's why I'm doing the recording right now. Maybe some of you might have a different challenge later when you become a teacher. So what is important is for you not to linger on the problem, but rather to always find solution on how to address the problem. All right. So aside from that, you should be pragmatic. You should be a good communicator. Of course, this is very important. Expert in your field because you cannot impart something which you don't have. You should have that sense of expertise, that idea of being an expert in your own field of specialization. And of course, you should be a creative thinker as well. So these are just a few skill characteristics that defines a global teacher. Okay. But most importantly, the skill that a global teacher should possess is information literacy. All right? And of course, not just information literacy, it's actually how to make use of these information in order to influence as well students to become information savvy, to become um, information, to really have the passion to dig into the different information or to acquire knowledge. Right? That means the skills should be transferable. It should not only be within the teacher. It should not only maintain or it should not only stay within the teacher, but it should be transferred even to the students. All right. So this actually makes it clear already. Not being global teacher, you have to be a world class teacher. World class from the word itself, world class. It should be you should be someone who is worthy or someone who is capable of teaching in a worldwide scenario. Okay, not just limited to your home countries. Okay. However, it doesn't mean that if you're a global teacher, you are to go out of the country and then teach there. It's not the thing. You can still be a global teacher, but here in the Philippines, what I'm saying is, as a global teacher, it's about the skill that you possess, the skills, the abilities, the mindset, the capabilities that you possess that is globally competitive, something at par with the other countries. Okay? So the characteristics of a global teacher can be categorized into two. The first one is a global teacher with character. Of course, no, being a teacher, you are being emulated by your students. You're being looked up to with your students. And to tell you honestly, different countries follow different cultures, different traditions, and the like. So as a global teacher, um, society let me allow me to read, no, society needs people who are dedicated to positive values and moral principles. There are many intelligent people, but they do not have that sense of personal and social values. When I went to Dubai, of course, no, Philippines and Dubai is known to be a Muslim country, conservative country, no. So there are a lot of things that I can do that I have done here in the Philippines which I cannot apply in Dubai. So as a teacher, I have to abide by the culture of the country where I taught. All right. So I have to respect their traditions. I have to be careful, no, with the things that I would say, because there are things we consider acceptable here in the Philippines that might not be acceptable in other countries, like for example in UAE, in a city like Dubai, for example. So what I'm saying is a global teacher is somebody who should possess, no, that good, great character that is worthy to be emulated by the students wherever you are in the whole world. May it be in the Philippines, may it be in Dubai, in UAE, may it be in Japan and the like. No? So you should be able to have desirable characteristics. Something, or you should be able to even adapt, no, to situations, to where you are currently in, to what situation you are currently in. All right. So you should have these characters. You should be committed. You should have this commitment, sense of commitment. You should have love of learners, accountability for high standards. You should challenge your students, no, to attain high standards. Sociability, which is very important. You should be sociable. You should know how to socialize. Especially that when I was teaching in UAE, I had eight teachers, or I think seven or eight teachers with a different nationality. I mean, I was teaching mathematics there. Within the mathematics department, there were about seven other teachers or eight other teachers. One of them was a Filipino. All right, and but the other six or seven were from another nationality or country. you should know how to socialize, especially that modesty aside, then I was given the chance to be a year level coordinator. So there were teachers who I manage, and these teachers were coming from Pakistan, were coming from India. So I have to know how to reach out to them for me to be an effective coordinator, for me to be able to impart with them that this is what I have planned for the class, and if they do have any suggestions, they are free to also share it with me, for example. All right, so the ability to socialize is very important, and of course sincerity. With everything that you do, you should be sincere, no? If you are to let's say help another person, a fellow teacher, you should be sincere. If you are to um, say for example, if there is something that you are to impart in your classes, may it be academics or may it be a valuing and integration, all right, you should be sincere also. A global teacher should have a heart to love the unlovable, especially there will be students who at first you might find unlovable, no? However, they are works in progress, meaning with proper guidance of the teacher, these students will progress. Maybe the progress might not be that huge, but at least if you can see progress, at least if you can see improvement in the student, that's already something that's already rewarding on your end. Endure the unbearable challenges are too many. There might be a lot of challenges, even if you're here in the Philippines or abroad. So you should be able to cope with these challenges and have the competence to make learning possible. Despite the problems, despite the conflicts of schedule, you should have that competence, no, to still make learning possible. All right. So as a teacher, you should find ways in order to bring forth effective learning amongst your students. And of course, a global teacher should have common sense. This is something that makes us unique from other being. People have the ability to think and respond to different stimuli and to all that is happening around us. I think if you talk about common sense, you should have that when you are to see a situation, when you are to see a problem, or when you are to see a possible challenge, you should be able to assess that particular challenge, and you should be able to think of a quick remedy. That's sometimes what we call as common sense. Use your common sense. Quick remedy on how to address the problem. May it be temporary remedy. Like for example, I just remember this one when I was working in Dubai. We were given laptops, so free laptops, but it's not. It's just lend. eh, We were just um, we were given a laptop, but it's not our own ownership. I mean, like the moment we resign, we have to return it to the school. So it was just lent to us. In other words, we just borrowed it. Um, there was one time wherein the laptop got a problem and my lessons are there and my class is fast approaching, so like about 20 minutes to go and then I'll have a class. Okay, so instead of panicking, because there's a tendency for you to panic, especially if you have only a few minutes left before your class and then something happens. So instead of panicking, if you're a global teacher, you have to think of possible ways on how to remedy it, because basically if it's a serious problem, then that might not be solved right away. Though we have an ICT department, I mean, like we have an ICT specialist wherein he is somebody assigned to troubleshoot no any problems when it comes to gadgets, laptops, and the like. But then within the 20 minutes, that might not be possible. So as a teacher, you should know you should have that kind of common sense to innovate, to do something in order to still bring forth, still to continue with your classes even without the laptop. Because as a teacher, you should be an expert. You should be knowledgeable. All the knowledge or all this information are in your head, all right, are within you. So even without the laptop, still you can teach. You can innovate and so on and so forth. So this is what we call as common sense. Okay. Another thing is um, I remember that when I was working in Dubai, Filipinos usually are actually. I mean, the ICT specialists were happy about Filipino teachers because whenever Filipino teachers encounter problems with their gadgets, before they approach the ICT manager or officer, they try to troubleshoot it on their own. all right? Because there were some teachers, I won't mention the nationalities, there were some teachers who will right away approach the ICT officer when they experience problems with their gadgets, no? And then the solution will just be very easy. It will just be, as what the officer said, it's just common sense. So Filipino teachers are known to be somebody who really tries to do something to solve the problem first before approaching somebody else. And that's what we call as common sense. Okay? Now, majority will agree that quality of an educational system is relative to the quality of its teachers. True enough, no? So, of course, these students were educated by the teachers. You were educated by your teachers, and I'm one of them. And um, if I myself do not know what I'm doing, if I myself do not know the subject which I am teaching, how can you learn? In other words, how can I impart a knowledge which I do not have? So we can really say that the quality of teachers actually determines the quality of students. All right, that is why we need to ensure that our graduates attain a certain kind of quality. So, if you will receive, say for example, if you are to receive a grade which is not what you expected, so you have to reevaluate yourselves as well. As we teachers are also trying to reevaluate if the grades we are assigning to you are actually um, appropriate. Although I'm not saying that grades equate your abilities and your skills. No, they really won't define you. The grades won't really define you. However, somehow the grades reflect your performances in each of your courses. So going back, if you are to receive a grade other than what you expected, especially if the grade is a bit low, reevaluate yourself. Have you done enough effort to reach the particular grade? Have you done enough were you able to do all with quality in order for you to achieve such grade? All right, because in USJR or in any schools, we are actually regulating the grades of the students because we wanted to give a grade that would really uh, appropriate, that is really appropriate for a certain student. So if I give a grade of 1.1, that means that particular student is of high quality already. That student is worthy for that 1.1 for being responsible, for having achieved, or for having, let's say, performed all activities, examinations with high quality. Okay? So if you aspire for a higher grade, make sure that you have done enough, that you have done all your best, that you have done everything as as far as the standards of the school is concerned. Okay, it's different if you are to do your best and then you have not reached the standards of the school. Still, you did your best, but then we do follow a standard, and if you did not reach the standard, that standard, still we cannot give you the grade that you wanted. All right, so something like that. The reason why we set a standard it's because we wanted to make sure no that our graduates are of high quality because quality teachers, I will stress this one, produce quality students. The only way for us to produce quality teachers is really if we are to assess and evaluate you the best way we could. And of course, no, we have this. I think this will be the last portion. And that's why we deal into teacher exchange programs because we wanted to immerse you to a different world, to a different kind of experience. So teacher exchange programs allow aspiring teachers or even teachers to have um, a foretaste of how education is in another parts of outside of the country. All right, and that actually somehow tests they're being a globally competitive teacher. They're being a global teacher. Okay? So we have acquisition of life-changing personal and professional experiences through career-enhancing opportunities because in a way they gain new perspectives, they gain new knowledge. They it's an eye opener. In other words, exposure to new teaching methodologies because in there in other outside of the country there might be other teaching strategies which you might not have been exposed to here in the Philippines. In Dubai, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of new strategies which I wasn't able to learn when I was teaching here, in the Philippines. So I but it doesn't mean that you are to forget whatever strategies you've had before. The strategies you currently have and the strategies you will learn in the future, you should be able to put them together in order for you to really uh, become a learned teacher and a skilled and an expert teacher. Okay, better understanding of culture. Of course, when you are immersed, if you are to live in a certain country out other than your own, then you will learn their culture. You will learn to love to eat, for example, their food. So at first, when I first arrived in Dubai, I was, um, it's like, I really didn't like the food at the first time, especially that my school served free lunch, and the majority of the lunch served were Arabic, like the biryani, for example. I don't know if it's really Arabic, no, but then these are the food I'm not used to. So at first, I really didn't like it, but then maybe because of my years of stay there, I learned how to love it, and I do love the food already. So there are a lot of food I was able to love, no? Like for Indian food, the paneer, it's cottage cheese, the samosa, I do love those food. So you will really learn the culture, the practices, the traditions. So they have this festival of lights, all right? So it's really nice. I forgot the name, Diwani, I think, or something like that. Okay, opportunity to develop international friendship. Of course, international friendship, relationship um, with people from other cultures, from other religions, from other countries. Okay, so here are some teacher exchange programs, and some of these were, I think you might be familiar with some of these. No, Fulbright Teacher Exchange Program, U.S. China Teacher Exchange Program, the JET, no, Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. We have Alberta's International Education Exchange Program, and I think in the U.S. we also have the Cultural Exchange Program for teachers. All right. So there are a lot of teacher programs for this particular purpose, to be able to share cultures, differences, to understand other cultures, to understand other traditions, and to become a global teacher. Okay. So I think we don't need this one. This will be for your assignment. All right. So the first assignment, um, I'd like you to search for 5 applications, include description and link, and upload your assignment in our submission corner. The 5 applications should be those that you can use in your classrooms. All right. So when I say applications, you can have, some of these applications might be downloaded or might be installed in your gadgets, in your laptops. But when you talk about 5 applications, this should be other than the common ones like Microsoft Word. Of course, these are applications that are commonly used to. I'd like you to focus more on educational applications. All right, something that can really um, help fuel and make your instruction better. Make you a better teacher. Especially put yourselves in the scenario of the pandemic, wherein everything has been migrated into um, online. So, what are some of the applications, educational applications that might be useful for you? All right, that's the first one. Second assignment is, as stated in our discussion, no, teachers should strive to learn to use technology in the classroom, all right, for you to become a global teacher. Since this can enhance students' potential even more if you provide them with opportunities for an interactive and engaging aided instruction, especially in the scenario of online teaching, no? So in line with this, I'd like you to download the MELC, Most Essential Learning Competencies, and focus on your area of specialization. So if you're a BE Ed major, so I'd like you to look into the MELC for elementary level. You may choose any subject, only one subject lang, subject of your comfort, for example. By the way, the assignment is to be done by group. So the first assignment and the second assignment is to be done by group. For the second assignment, if you are in a group with different areas of specialization, you can focus in one area of specialization lang, and then you can do this one. So again, going back, if you're an elementary, if you're a BE Ed, look for an elementary MELC. If you're a secondary major, look for the MELC. So within your group, try to check your areas of specialization. If you have the same areas of specialization, good. So it's not difficult for you to decide. No, focus on that area of specialization, say science, math, or English. But then, if your group is composed of different areas of specialization, then um, you can decide among your members, decide one area which you will focus more. All right, and then that is what you are gonna refer to in this particular assignment. Create a lesson plan incorporating the online application tools in your lesson. So the online application tools which you have searched in the first assignment should be embedded in your lesson plan. So it would be a lot better to search for application tools that can be applied during your motivational activity, during your discussion, during your assessment. All right. So the application tool should not be congested within discussion only, or should not be congested within assessment. It could be spread throughout your lesson plan. So there could be one for, um, let's say, for motivation. I'll give an example. Say Kahoot, for example. You can put it in motivation or even in assessment. There should be another application as much as possible during discussion, during group activity, collaboration. It all depends on you. All right. Even in the assignment making, in the plenary portion, the last portion, which is the assignment, you could also have one online application tool that can facilitate in doing their assignment, and then indicate an active link to your site in your resources. Okay, so this will be the rubric for your guide. All right, so you can pause this video for you to be able to see the rubric. So what I'll be sending to you a sample of the lesson plan shortly. All right. So that will be something that you can refer on for this particular assignment. So you have two assignments, but the assignments are interrelated. So the first assignment is for you to research on online application tools. The second assignment is to make use of them and create a lesson plan. And I think that's it. That's it for our lesson today. Should you have any questions, Um, you can ask them to me via our GC, or you can send me a PM. Either ways, I'll attend to your questions the soonest time I can see them. So thank you so much for listening, and please do bear with me with the situation. Hopefully next week I could already meet you virtually, and by then I'd like you to prepare to open your cameras, as I'll be opening my camera as well. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you a great day ahead. Keep safe and God bless. Goodbye, everyone.